This is not me saying that ChatGPT or any AI is the end all be all of the truth. Absolutely not. But y'all, where there's smoke, there's bound to be fire. And ChatGPT says that our house is going up in flames. The following video is an expression of personal opinion and commentary protected under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and applicable fair use doctrine. The content is based on publicly available information and summarizations provided by generative artificial intelligence systems for educational and critical analysis purposes. This video does not present itself as legal, factual, or financial advice, and the views expressed are solely those of the creator and not those of OpenAI, its affiliates, or any governmental entity. Any likeness or references to real people are used in a journalistic, satirical, or critical context and are not intended to defame or incite. The creator of this video acknowledges the sensitive nature of political discourse and encourages all viewers to engage critically, peacefully, and lawfully. Also, the use of AI in any form is a topic I intend to discuss in the next video, where I address the ethical concerns surrounding the use of AI, including the recent controversy involving the US Copyright Office director, who was just fired by President Donald Trump following her warning to Congress explaining that the American tech companies are literally stealing everything we've ever made. But that's for next week. I asked ChatGPT what it thinks about Donald Trump, and the answer wasn't what I expected. Is what ChatGPT told me to say when we outlined this video, but that just ain't the truth, y'all. It told me exactly what you and I already know, because we're not absolute morons. Donald Trump has thrown America into a crisis that our country has never seen before. The man literally won't say if he's required to uphold the Constitution.
Even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me.
And we're all just sitting here trying to keep some form of normalcy, hoping that someone else will stop it. Well, I'm sorry if I'm the first person to tell you this. That someone is going to have to be all of us, because our founding fathers, who were absolutely really fucking terrible people, we should really read up more about them. It's all right there. They weren't the best. But our founding fathers did not get everything right, but they absolutely were damn sure about one thing. America is the land of the free. Fascists are not welcome here. Authoritative wannabe strongman ass bitches are not welcome here either. And yes, ChatGPT agrees with me. And that's why this week's episode is called ChatGPT Knows the Truth About Donald Trump. Now, before we go any deeper, I need to be clear about a few things. First, yes, I use ChatGPT to help write this particular episode. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good, it should. There are serious ethical questions about AI, specifically because it currently only exists by piggybacking off the backs of uncredited, unpaid creative labor, which again will be the topic of my video next week. Friendly reminder to sub to the channel if this is your first time here. I promise I'm always this charmingly handsome. But we're not here to talk about that. Today, we're talking about Donald Trump. But I've got one more prerequisite for you before you continue to watch this video. You have to agree that it would be completely unacceptable for Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Jimmy Carter, RIP to the GOAT, or any president to accept a $400 million gift from a foreign government. If we can't agree on that, then there's really no point in you going any further in this video. For the rest of you, let's see what ChatGPT had to say about Trump. How did we get here? If you haven't already guessed, yes, the idea for this video all started when news broke that Donald Trump would be accepting a $400 million luxury jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar. The president of the United States accepting a $400 million gift from a foreign nation is, hold on, let me check. Oh, that's right, absolutely against the Constitution. I mean, to be fair, what was it that he said when he was asked if he was supposed to uphold the Constitution?
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's right. He didn't know. Well, let me help you out there, buddy. Yes, that's literally your fucking job. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 of the Constitution, also known as the Emoluments Clause, clearly says, no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Now, I know we've all been running fast and dirty with the Constitution under dear leader, but come on. Just last week, the president said that kids should only have 2 or 3 dolls, and that those dolls are probably going to get a little bit more expensive.
I don't think a beautiful baby girl that's 11 years old needs to have 30 dolls. I think they can have 3 dolls or 4 dolls. Saying they don't need to have 30 dolls. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5.
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
This. Look, yeah, everything's okay.
Out of everything that's happened in this awful timeline of an existence that we live in, this should be the end of the conversation, right? But I don't know. Maybe I'm the idiot for thinking the orange garbage truck of a human being who literally has gold toilets, lives in a mansion, and thinks that your kid should be happy with the bare minimum while his kids get to openly do drugs is the bad guy? So I asked ChatGPT to give it to me straight. Can you explain what's happening in America right now at a macro level? Be as objective as possible. And what I got back wasn't emotional. It wasn't just feeding off of my anger, although I'm angry. It was one of the clearest, most damning explanations I have ever read. It described an America where the rule of law no longer matters, where our institutions are being stripped for parts, where power funnels to those most willing to abuse it, and where democracy stops being debated and instead is dismantled. It described the United States of America right now, in real time, a shell of the country that we are supposed to be. What ChatGPT said about Trump. 1. The United States has elected an openly authoritarian leader again. Donald Trump is back in office as the 47th president after defeating Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. He returned to power not by changing, but by doubling down on his most extreme positions, promising mass deportations, weaponizing the DOJ, and centralizing power. His election signals that tens of millions of Americans either approve of autocracy or are willing to tolerate it in exchange for perceived security, economic relief, or ideological dominance. It also reflects its successful long-term strategy of eroding institutional trust and normalizing criminality at the highest levels of government. 2. The rule of law is in decline. Trump was convicted of felonies before taking office and is still under multiple criminal investigations, but instead of being disqualified, his convictions became a rallying cry. He now governs as a sitting president, openly hostile to judicial independence, seeking revenge on prosecutors, judges, and political opponents. The Emoluments Clause is functionally meaningless. Conflicts of interest are tolerated, even expected. Foreign influence like Qatar's luxury plane donation is no longer a red flag, it's standard practice. 3. The federal government is increasingly a tool for political loyalty, not public service. Trump has begun purging civil servants and replacing them with loyalists under a plan called Schedule F, aiming to turn the professional federal workforce into a partisan apparatus. This is the dismantling of the neutral administrative state, where policy is no longer based on expertise, but on obedience. 4. Checks and balances are structurally weakened. The Supreme Court is packed with an ultra-conservative majority, highly deferential to executive power, corporate interests, and Christian nationalist ideology. Congress is fractured, with the Republican-led Senate working in lockstep with Trump while House Democrats struggle for leverage. State governments in GOP-controlled areas are enacting increasingly aggressive laws to suppress dissent, limit academic freedom, and roll back civil rights. 5. The American public is dangerously fragmented. One half of the country sees Trump's return as a death knell for democracy, while the other half sees it as a restoration of order or a middle finger to elites. Social cohesion is gone, and political violence is on the rise. People exist in information silos, and mass disinformation is no longer a threat, it's the norm. 6. The nation is moving from democratic backsliding to democratic collapse. What was once a slow erosion has become a controlled demolition of the democratic infrastructure. Elections are still held, but with growing interference and suppressed participation. Laws are written, but with less transparency and more autocratic intent. Protests still happen, but with more violent crackdowns and surveillance. So, what is going on? America is no longer in a crisis of polarization, it is in a crisis of legitimacy. The foundational norms of democracy, fair elections, rule of law, separation of power, and civic trust are no longer guaranteed, and millions of people are either terrified and exhausted, wondering how this could happen in plain sight, disengaged and convinced their voice doesn't matter, or cheering because they've confused cruelty with strength and collapse with cleansing. This is how democratic nations die, not all at once, but step by step while people debate whether it's really happening. And yes, It's really happening. Why this is so dangerous. I need you to sit with something for a second. That wasn't the opinion of some political commentator. Well, I guess it's kind of the opinion of like every political commentator that's ever existed. But again, that's a video for next week. We'll talk about it then. And it also just wasn't me ranting either, although I do that a lot. This is a machine told to be as objective as possible, describing the death of democracy in plain language. And here's the part that literally keeps me up at night. Most people don't seem to care because this isn't happening like it would in a movie. There is no single defining moment that people can point and say, okay, that's the bad guy. I mean, some of us can, but we get told to calm down. The masses don't see that big, obvious moment happening because they can't see it. It's just decay, slow, little by little, rotting from the inside out. And that's how it always happens. You don't lose democracy in one big moment. You lose it in 1,000 little ones, while everyone argues over whether it's really happening or not. You get distracted, you get overwhelmed, and you start ignoring some of the battles because you're just too exhausted. And eventually, you stop fighting at all. And that's the danger, because we can't fight for democracy if we don't believe that it's real. We can't hold our leaders accountable if we're all just one giant shrug emoji at the literal treason and corruption in front of our face. The moment a society stops expecting integrity, when bribery becomes background noise, when cruelty becomes strategy, when justice only applies to your side, you no longer have a democracy. You have the inevitable slope that eventually turns into future generations saying about us what we say about the German people. How could we have let this happen? Because right now, tens of millions of people are giving Donald Trump permission to do whatever the fuck he wants, as long as it makes the people that they hate feel pain. And yeah, that's the quiet part said out loud that nobody else wants to seem to say. This isn't about jobs. It's not about the border. It's not about saving America. It's about punishment. It's about vengeance. It's about watching the world burn just to prove that you were right, even though you were not right. This is all about keeping one treasonous criminal out of jail while the rest of us are stuck here trying to defend a system that was already broken. How can we continue to go on about our daily lives like any of this is normal? This is a hostile takeover of our country. They have literally told us as much.
In spite of all this nonsense from the left, we are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
They think this shit's gonna be bloodless? Okay. No, we are not having a political disagreement. We are living through a moral collapse. And if we wait until it's undeniable, it'll be too late to do anything about it. Why the right cheers for this? ChatGPT can see clear as day what's happening, but can we? Donald Trump isn't the actual disease killing our country. He's simply a symptom, loud, treasonous, grotesque, and absolutely dangerous, but still just a symptom of something much, much bigger. See, a machine told to be as objective as possible didn't just describe one man. It described an entire movement. It described millions of people who don't want democracy unless it guarantees that their side wins. People who cheer when power is abused so long as the targets are the right ones. But this is the part that AI could never fully explain. The rage, the entitlement, the deep, gleeful cruelty that fuels this entire thing. Because Trump didn't steal this country. He was handed it by a base that wanted a hammer, not a president. Someone to shatter every institution that ever told them no. They don't want leadership. They want vengeance. They don't want fairness. They want control. And the louder the cruelty gets, the more support they seem to gain. The GOP today isn't a political party. It's a grievance cult with nukes, fueled by white fear, propped up by Christian nationalism, and obsessed with power, no matter the cause, going as far as to refuse to admit even obvious facts, like we live in some North Korean evil dictatorship.
Madam Secretary, you agree that the letters MS and the number 13 in Times Roman numeral font, that they are doctored on this photo, right?
Congressman, Abrego Garcia.
No, I'm
fellow
just asking about
member
this.
of
But
MS through every
I want you to have
interaction with
credibility, and
enforcement.
I want you to be taken seriously. Is this doctored or is it not
Sure, I am
doctored?
taken quite seriously.
Is
because
Secretary, I have a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have a bullshit detector. I'm just asking you, is this doctored or not doctored?
That is the current Secretary of Homeland Security basically refusing to admit that the sky is blue. The MS-13 on this photo wasn't added by some idiot intern. We can't even admit that simple fact. My blind dead-ass grandma can see that the MS-13 in this image was added in post. It's a basic fact. This is North Korea level of bullshit. You see, they say that they want freedom, but what they really want is permission. Permission to punish, permission to silence, permission to dominate us all. And Trump gives them that green light. And this is the part that hurts the most. He never could have done it alone. He didn't just rise because the right embraced him. He rose because the left also failed to offer anything better. And yes, we need to talk about that too. Why the left keeps losing. Here's the part many on the left won't admit. Trump didn't win because he's some philanthropic genius who wakes up every morning with a burning passion to make the lives of other people better. He won in part because the Democratic Party keeps trying to be the bigger person while the country burns down behind them. The Dems bring strongly worded letters to a knife fight. They think some fake-ass decorum will defeat fascism. They continue to believe that the process will save us. They think fact checks and press releases are a substitute for actual courage. Meanwhile, Trump was out there before the election saying that he would disregard the Constitution, and Democrats were just telling us to vote harder. What ChatGPT didn't say, but I will, is this. The modern Democratic Party has become the HR department of a collapsing empire. All bureaucracy, no backbone. They let Merrick Garland run out the clock. They watched the Supreme Court turn into a pay-to-play operation for a single leader. Right now, the president is accepting a $400 million foreign gift, and the loudest pushbacks we get is the equivalent of a blog post. And let me be clear, I'm not saying every single Dem leader is a wet blanket, but guys, what the fuck? We'd all like to see a lot more backbone of you. And many of them, and maybe even some of you watching this, wonder why people are choosing to care less and less. It's simple. Our politicians have given us less and less reason to believe anything will change. We were told to trust the system, so we did, and the system failed spectacularly. We were told no one is above the law, and then we all watched as Trump broke it over and over again. January 6th was a treasonous act against the United States of America, and we elected the man to be president again. It happened in front of our eyes. We all watched it on TV. What world do we live in to where we can see an act of treason against our country and still vote for this man? When the people begging for justice see no justice, they either check out or they start cheering for someone who promises revenge instead. And that's how you lose to a man like Trump. Not because he's smart, but because the alternative, generationally, hasn't made people feel they were actually fighting for them. Now, I can say that most people don't understand the truly life-altering policy Democrats have fought for. But how people feel will always win. And people feel like Democrats don't do shit. That's something Democrats need to own and address right now. So yeah, the right, they cheer for Trump. That's their man. But the left, they help clear the stage. And if you're mad about that, good. You should be, because I am. I'm pissed the fuck off. But being angry without a plan doesn't do anything. So what can we actually do about any of it? Here's the truth. We're not gonna vote our way out of this. We're not gonna post our way out of this on social media. And this video damn sure isn't gonna do it by itself. And we're not just gonna wait for the good guys to come and do something, because they're not coming. Because again, when an actual machine can see that our democracy is collapsing, we don't get to play dumb anymore. When a calculator tells you that 1 + 1 = 2, you don't argue that it's wrong. And again, this is not me saying that ChatGPT or any AI is the end all be all of the truth. Absolutely not. But y'all, where there's smoke, there's bound to be fire. And ChatGPT says that our house is going up in flames. We don't get to hide behind it's complicated or that's just politics anymore. This is about survival now. It's about whether the people in charge fear losing our support as much as they fear losing the donor class or a bad headline on fucking Fox. So what do? We stop apologizing for being angry. Be angrier. Angrier than you are right now. Much, much, much angrier than you are right now. We stop waiting for permission to say what needs to be said. Say what's on your chest. Say it. And we have to start showing up louder, sharper, and more honest than we have ever had before, because the collapse is real. This is happening. And if we don't stop it, we will wake up someday in the future and wonder how we let it happen. But you know what else is real? The resistance. I had a friend tell me that their voice doesn't matter, that nothing they do will change anything. And honestly, that was one of the most depressing things I think I've ever heard. Not because they were wrong to feel that way, but because that's the point. They beat him down so bad, so often, with so much hopelessness that now he believes he doesn't matter. He believes his voice doesn't matter. He believes that in his soul. How sad is that? How fucking sad is that? But if your voice didn't matter, they wouldn't fight so damn hard to silence it. They wouldn't make it harder for you to vote. They wouldn't deport the people brave enough to speak up. They wouldn't ban books, rewrite history, or flood your timeline with lies. Your voice threatens them. Your presence threatens them, because when we remember our power, when we speak, organize, and show up, we can change the game. Slavery lasted for thousands of years across the globe, but it ended in places because people didn't stop dreaming of something better. You don't need permission to matter. You already do. We just need enough people to remember that. Silence has never once stopped oppression. Only action has. So be the one who speaks up. Be the one who shows up. Be the one who reminds everyone around you that we are not powerless. We still have voices. We still have choices. And we still have time. But not much. Because again, this is happening right now. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like, a share, or even subscribe if you haven't. Small acts like that do wonders to help me get these messages out to more people. Hopefully, as you can tell, this is something I care about. I know I said that I wasn't going anywhere, and I took a break because this shit's heavy, but I meant it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna be right here with you every single step of the way. But until next time, peace, love, and remember, we are only human. So maybe be a little kinder to yourself and each other. Peace.